So before we begin today, I'm going to read a point of order. The Defense Authorization Act of 2008-2009, signed by President Bush, has amended Section 301, Bravo 1 of Title 36 United States Code, thereby allowing all veterans and military personnel not in uniform to render a hand salute during the raising, lowering, or passing of the national colors, and during the playing of our national anthem. So I would highly suggest that if you're in the audience today, that you render the proper hand salute. Those men and women of the military who are in uniform, this will be a covered ceremony. Bugler, sound assembly.
Thank you to Brian Sincata and the Hingham High School Band. I'd like to remind all of us to make certain that our telephones are off or silent and call this ceremony to order. We'll now have the presentation of the colors by the police and fire departments, and then we will all sing together our national anthem.
Detail! Attention! Present! Halt!
Left face. Present arms.
Veterans detail, order, home!
I now call forward Father Sinisha Ubaparapovich for the invocation. Father Sinisha.
O eternal God, our shepherd, with you we shall not want. With you we shall lie down in green pastures and rest beside still waters. Though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, with you we shall fear no evil. For you are with us, your rod and your staff comfort us. We gather today to honor men who have walked through the valley of the shadow of death. Though they walked through that valley long ago, the valor and selflessness with which they trod the valley will live in the annals of American history always. We remember their comrades in arms who never returned from that valley so many years ago. They did not lose their lives, they gave them. They offered up themselves for their country, their families, and their buddies. Their sacrifice shall never be forgotten in the story of America's great crusade against tyranny. We remember too the families of these men interned in their own country while their sons, husbands, and fathers fought to vindicate their names and reputations. We thank you that you are a God of righteousness and justice, who rights wrongs and brings light out of darkness. May you be glorified today as we confer recognition unjustly withheld and long overdue. May you be honored even as we honor these brave men, their families, and their comrades who are not here today. O God of hosts, our shepherd, we commend this ceremony to you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father, and please be seated. It's my pleasure today to welcome a number of distinguished guests. Our Board of Selectmen, including Board Chair Paul Healy, Selectman Paul Gannon, Selectman Mary Power. Our Town Administrator Ted Alexiadis and the Assistant Town Administrator Tom Mayo. Our Town Clerk Eileen McCracken, and Police Chief Glenn Olson, Fire Chief Bob Olson, and our Gold Star mothers and families. We gather here today, as we do each year, to pay tribute to those who have given of themselves to serve in our nation's armed forces. At a time when so many traditions have fallen by the wayside, this is a tradition that we are right to keep. In doing so, we recognize the sacrifice made by some for the good of all. We recognize, too, that in this room, in this small New England town, there are today, as there have been for generation after generation, men and women who have given of themselves in extraordinary ways. We recognize, too, that the veteran's sacrifice is one shared by the veteran's spouse, children, and family. So in thanking those who have served, we pay tribute as well to their families who have kept the home fires burning during their loved ones' time of service. Today's ceremonies are missing one beloved member, Nelson Ross. In Nelson's passing last month, Hingham lost an outstanding citizen. A lawyer by profession, Nelson spent 6 years in the Army National Guard and attained the rank of sergeant. Nelson lived a life of service to his family, service to his clients at Ropes and Gray, and service to Hingham, to which he devoted countless hours as a member of the Hingham Personnel Board, the Town Administrator Bylaw Committee, the library's Board of Trustees, and South Shore Conservatory, where he was a longtime trustee and past board chair. Nelson Ross personified what is best in the citizen soldier, giving military service and leading an exemplary civilian life. Nelson, we salute you and we miss you. I now invite the Hingham High School Band, under Brian Sincata's direction, to perform the Armed Forces Medley. And I invite, as we do each year, veterans to rise as your particular service song is played. now invite to come forward our Selectman Board Chair, Paul Healy.
Thank you, Mike. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. We gather today as patriots of this great country to thank those amongst us who have worn the uniform, marking them as soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen of the United States of America, ensuring that America's freedom and continued existence as a nation endures for centuries to come. The defense of our nation, the cost in blood and treasure to safeguard our way of life has been hard. Our nation's colors are weighted by the battle streamers of conflict, both here and on foreign shores. It is only because our citizens have recognized the paramount importance of protecting our nation and stepping forward to protect it do we survive as a people. Today, we fight wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Our troops return to us carrying the experiences of war. As a country, we owe it to them to provide the unqualified support they need for successful and dignified transition to society. While we honor them today, the negative effects of that experience on our soldiers can last a lifetime. We have a moral obligation to provide vibrant support to the veteran for their sacrifice to America. Hingham's citizens have a long tradition of service. We enjoy the distinction of being a recipient of the Freedom Award in 2015. It was an honor to accept this award in behalf of this great town as a Blue Star father. Many of you in this audience today enjoy the pride of knowing that you have contributed to the vital fabric of service to this country, either as a veteran served honorably or being the family supporting your loved one in uniform. For many of you, that service continues within our community today, and that spirit of contribution enriches us all. For that, we thank you. Sadly, we mark the recent passing of one such man, Nelson Ross, a man whose service to his country and decades of selfless service to our community was invaluable. He will be sorely missed, so let us be guided by the light of his dedicated service to mark our path forward. On the eve of the presidential election in 1864, with a nation weary of war, Union General Philip Sheridan defeated the army of Jubal Early at Cedar Creek in the Shenandoah Valley. Later, veterans from both sides of this decisive battle gathered in peace and reconciliation on the very ground that they had once bitterly fought for, but this time they went forward as one. Our resiliency is our greatest strength. It is fitting on this Veterans Day 2016 that we speak as a unified people to remember our citizens in uniform, to recognize and thank them for their invaluable contribution of service and sacrifice to our nation. God bless America.
Beautifully said, Paul. Next, it's my pleasure to welcome Coleman Nee and to introduce former Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Coleman Nee. Mr. Nee has over 25 years of experience in successfully implementing corporate, governmental, and not-for-profit programs and initiatives. In 2007, he became the Undersecretary of Veterans Affairs for Massachusetts, and 3 years later, in 2010, he was appointed Secretary by then-Governor Patrick to lead one of the oldest veteran services programs in the United States. During Secretary Nee's tenure, he oversaw the implementation of several web-based platforms that brought efficiencies and greater access to over $70 million in financial benefits for Massachusetts veterans and their eligible dependents. His team established 2 national peer-to-peer outreach programs for veteran suicide prevention and homeless veterans reintegration by successfully obtaining over $5 million in federal funds, and they launched a comprehensive municipal compliance and training effort to ensure uniform availability of veterans' benefits across the Commonwealth and established 20 new Veterans Service Districts. Working with local partners, Secretary Nee led a team that designed and launched a comprehensive web portal for all veterans and their families to connect with governmental and nonprofit resources and veterans' benefits. Secretary Nee also partnered with the state legislature to help develop and pass several comprehensive pieces of veterans reform legislation to aid veterans and military families throughout the Commonwealth. Coleman Nee currently serves as the CEO of Triangle Incorporated, a 45-year-old not-for-profit that provides support and opportunities for people with disabilities and their families to obtain competitive employment and lead more independent lives. Secretary Nee is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. He was deployed overseas for Operation Desert Storm. He was awarded the Southwest Asian Campaign Medal, the Saudi Arabian and Kuwaiti Liberation of Kuwait Medals, a Navy Unit Commendation, selected Marine Corps Reserve Medal, National Defense Medal, the United States Marine Corps Certificate of Commendation, and a Meritorious Mast Award. It's my pleasure to welcome and invite to the podium Secretary Coleman Nee.
Thank you. And goodness, I think the speech is shorter than the bio. Before we begin, I just want to first of all give it up for the band. What a great job you guys did. Thank you so much. Really amazing. It's I always love the medley and see people stand and be proud of their service. And I guess it's not surprising so many Navy and Coast Guard personnel from Hingham. High school mascot name is the Harborman, so that's not all that bit of a surprise. But it's really an honor. I was really pleased when Keith asked me to do this a while ago. Love coming down to this community. It is a fantastic community. It is a very patriotic and one of my favorite communities in the Commonwealth. And it's a tremendous honor to be with all of you here today. So many of my brothers and sisters in uniform wore the uniform of this great nation, our Gold Star families, and just all of you who are family members or supporters of our veterans. I do want to thank the town of Hingham and all of the elected officials that are here, the town manager, staff, representatives of veteran service officers, and veteran service organizations that are here as well. And I do want to say a little note about Keith German. As mentioned, I oversaw veterans benefits and state municipal benefits for a long period of time, and we did quite a bit of work with compliance and training. I can tell you, and I say this to you with tears in my eyes, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, you are exceptionally fortunate to have Senior Chief German as your vet service officer. Hingham has one of the best vet service offices in the entire Commonwealth, probably in the top 3, and I can't tell you just how appreciative I am. Looks great in his uniform too, doesn't he? That's good. So, I was going to wear mine, but I think my wife put it in the dryer. It seems to have shrunk. You also have, this community also has a large and a long history of supporting veterans, not just through events, but through advocacy and work. Several members of the board of the New England Center for Veterans and their families reside in Hingham or Hingham originates. Dan Daly and Jack Manning. I know Greg McCoon as well are here from or represent the New England Center, which does fantastic work helping our veterans who lost their way, try to find their way back and reintegrating into society and employment. I know, starting right from the top, Paul, thank you for your service, and thank you for your son's service as well. Paul's, I believe your son is stationed at Fort Polk, is that? Thank you very much for your son's service to our nation as an officer in the United States Army. And then when you look, even just at the community, just the Commander Anderson housing that you have is phenomenal. And you guys have really been at the forefront of ensuring that the veterans and veterans' needs, as well as our benefits, are advocated for, and that we meet our responsibility to this population and to this group of our society that has done so much for us. And I think some of that sort of is reflective a little bit in my remarks, and it's not, I try to take these opportunities not just to sort of use platitudes, but like Paul did, to talk about some of the issues that are facing our veterans and why it's important that we continue to advocate and be supportive of them and what the future looks like. So I was privileged to be Undersecretary and Secretary of Vet Services, and I got to meet with veterans and Gold Star families from all over Massachusetts, from our smallest city at North Adams, Mass, out in the corner of the Berkshires, to largest city of Boston, from the shores of Salisbury Beach all the way down to the docks of Provincetown. And I can tell you there's a spirit in this Commonwealth to honor and serve our veterans and their families in every corner of Massachusetts. That ethos is contained in our state character and in our state laws. And it goes back as far as the French and Indian Wars, and it continues today in our current conflicts against terror. And through it all, the men and women, particularly of Hingham, have distinguished themselves as patriots and proud Americans, always ready to answer the call and to serve in our defense. And this is a legacy for which all of you are responsible, and one that should afford you no small measure of pride. As someone who has studied and worked in our system, I can tell you that continuing that legacy of service and caring for our veterans and their families is a solemn obligation and should remain our top priority as a society. The greatest generation of World War II came back here to build an economy and a society that was the envy of the world. And today, and I can tell you this firsthand, we are benefiting from the efforts and skills of our new greatest generation of veterans. This is the most highly educated, diverse, and skilled generation of veterans that this nation has ever seen. They have accomplished much, and we can look forward to even greater successes as they continue to rejoin society, use their benefits, such as the GI Bill and other opportunities, to build their careers, build their communities, and improve our society. But as we look to the future, as we as veterans of past service will care for those in the ranks today and tomorrow, we need to re-examine our assumptions and study the data to ensure that we continue to meet the mission even when the current reality looks far different than it did in the past. Old soldiers never die, they simply fade away. Some of you may remember that from General MacArthur's farewell address to Congress. General MacArthur actually got it from an old British Army barracks ballad. And I wonder if the Tommies that sang that little song to the horrors that awaited them at the Battle of the Somme had any idea of the irony those words would provide 100 years later. And let me explain. Let's start with the fact America's veterans population is decreasing. According to data from the VA's National Center for Veterans Analysis and Statistics, there are about 21.4 million US veterans alive today. However, by the year 2043, that number is expected to fall to about 14.5 million. That is a 32% decrease in the amount of people who will have served this nation in uniform over the next 30 to 40 years. Age is another factor here. 64% of our current veteran population is over the age of 55 years old. 33% are over the age of 70. Newer veterans are signing up for VA at a faster rate than any other generation in the past. But even if every single new veteran from Iraq and Afghanistan signed up for VA services and VA benefits, which is unlikely, but even if they did, that's still only 3 million new veterans into that system. Racial and gender demographics amongst veterans are also changing. African American and Latino veterans are expected to grow to be 16 and 14% of our total veteran population, respectively. And women, who we've seen accomplish such amazing services and actions in our military over the past 10 years. Women right now are 9% of our total veteran population, but they are increasing as well. And by 2043, there'll be 2.4 million female veterans in this nation, many of whom have seen combat or combat duty, and they will represent over 16% of our total vet population at that time. So these changes are going to have a significant impact, both here in Hingham and at the national level. As a community, as veterans advocates, we need to plan for managing our governmental infrastructure and our operational costs for the long term, as the population decreases and both evolves. Given the already increased size in our female veteran population, we must ensure that we are providing access to high-quality health care and women's health services across the entire network in a welcoming and gender-sensitive manner. And we should make sure that we have veterans facilities and veterans access points like we do here in the town of Hingham that are geographically and strategically located to best serve the growing diverse population of veterans in areas where they live and in places where we can meet their health and benefits needs. I don't have to remind anyone in this room, but America has a duty to care for those that have served in uniform, regardless of how many or how few require that care. But the trends are pretty clear. And we, especially veterans and veterans advocates, like we have here in the town of Hingham, we have an obligation to be more thoughtful in our advocacy and our priorities. If we're unwilling to accept and meet this challenge, then the future for future generations of veterans is a little murky. But I know that we'll remain true to our cause, and more importantly, true to the legacy of those veterans and advocates on whose shoulders we stand. Many of them are here today, and you see them from World War II and Korea and Vietnam and our vet service organizations. And we stand on their shoulders, and we have benefited from their hard work and their advocacy over the years, and we need to do the same. So that many years from now, when our future comrades gather here, as we do today, it'll be with the same justifiable pride that America's promises to them have been met, and that our commitment to those who defend us has remained alive. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak here today. It was my great honor to even be asked, and I wish all of you, especially my comrades and their families, a safe and peaceful Veterans Day, which all of you have most assuredly earned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary Nee. I now invite the Hingham High School Band to perform God Bless America, and you're welcome to sing along. We now move to the awards portion of today's program. In keeping with that tradition, I invite last year's recipient of the Veteran of the Year Award to make the next presentation. I introduce Keith German.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator and Mr. Secretary, for those accolades. I truly appreciate it. It is with great pleasure that I stand before you today, not only as the Director of Veteran Services, but as last year's recipient of Hingham's Veteran of the Year Award. As tradition has it, the final honor of this position allows me to now present this year's award to a man who truly sets the bar for this prestigious award. As outlined, the recipient, and I quote, must possess notable civic leadership, be of strong moral character, and highly respected member of the community, end quote. Growing up in a small town in upstate New York, not much unlike Hingham, this young man went on to attend college at Colgate University. At first studying chemistry, but soon excelling in mathematics, where he ultimately graduated magna cum laude. After graduation from college, he joined IBM, working several months before leaving to take a commission in the United States Navy. He attended Officers Candidate School in Newport, Rhode Island. And upon graduating OCS with the rank of ensign, he was assigned to a secret naval base on the island of Japan, later transferring to the Naval Intelligence Security Group, where he was posted to the National Security Agency, headquartered at Fort George Meade, Maryland. His primary duties there were coding and working on early government-developed versions of what we now call the Internet. In 1972, this young, now Lieutenant J.G., transferred to the Naval Reserve, taking his skills back to IBM, where he steadily excelled. Quickly rising to the position of Director over all services Mid-Atlantic, he began pitching to government agencies like Geico, Amtrak, and the CIA, eventually landing an IT contract in the White House, where it is rumored I say, he once bumped into then-President Jimmy Carter. We can ask him about that later. Lieutenant John Asher was honorably discharged from naval service on October 10, 1980. He took on several other positions before retiring from IBM as Task Group Vice President of all North American operations. In 1997, John and his second wife, Isabel, moved to Hingham, where they both fell in love with this town immediately, not even completing their initial drive down Main Street. John lives by a simple motto, and I quote, "If you've got the skills, ability, and time, you've got to pay it forward. There's an obligation each of us have to serve," end quote. Asher first began serving Hingham in 2006, when he was appointed to the Capital Outlay Committee and began moonlighting with the Department of Veteran Services, helping with administrative and financial duties there. In 2007, he was appointed to the Advisory Committee, working to keep the town affordable and fiscally strong. His leadership earned him the chairmanship, serving from 2011 to 2012. Later, with that term ending, he was called upon again, this time to chair the newly formed Water Company Acquisition Study Committee, and at the same time, he was elected treasurer of the Veterans Council by his peers. John later moved up to chairman of the council as well, but stepped down in 2015 so he could focus on his new assignment of dedicating and memorializing Medal of Honor recipient Seaman Herbert Lewis Foss at the long-awaited, and newly constructed Hingham Intermotor Terminal in the Hingham Shipyard. John Asher's vision of Hingham continues. A consummate professional, he leads by example and works to foster respectful discourse and collaboration on every appointment, assignment, committee, council, or department he works with. Please help me honor this U.S. Navy veteran for all he continues to do for our community, state, and nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to welcome and bring up my friend and mentor, Mr. John Asher. The town of Hingham and the Hingham Veterans Council would like to extend its heartfelt thanks and appreciation for your participation in our annual Veterans Day observance. Each Veterans Day should be a time when Americans stop and remember the brave men and women who have risked their lives for the United States of America. As President Dwight D. Eisenhower said, it is well for us to pause, to acknowledge our debt to those who paid so large a share of freedom's price. As we stand here in grateful remembrance of our veterans' contributions, we renew our conviction of individual responsibility to live in ways that support the eternal truths upon which our nation is founded and from which flows all strengths and all greatness. Thank you from an appreciative town and Veterans Council. Signed this day, November 11th, 2016, Veteran Service Director Keith German, Veterans Council Chair David Sargent, Board of Selectmen Chair Paul Healy. Thanks again, sir.
Wow. I don't know what to say. I guess as I think about it, I can think of several individuals who have donated many, many years' worth of time and energy to support the town. Nelson Ross would be certainly at the top of that list, who deserve this recognition probably more than I do. But I would also say I think there are a lot of people in this room and in the town who have also dedicated hours and hours of their time and brought their skills to bear to address issues in which they have an interest and hopefully try to leave things a little better than you found them. That's certainly what I've tried to do. And I would say none of it would be possible without the support and encouragement of my wife and best friend, Isabel, who on more formal occasions is known as Miss Isabel. I think, or Master Chief. I think we are following in the footsteps of generations of people that live in this town that have volunteered generously of their time, and hopefully we set the example for generations that will follow and keep Hingham the great place that it is. I am truly honored by this to be in the company of people like Senior Chief German and others who have been given the recognition of Veteran of the Year, and I will do my best to be worthy of that recognition. Thank you very much.
And sir, before you go, be it also further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success, that a citation was signed by President of the Senate Stanley Rosenberg, Clerk William Welsh, and our State Senator Patrick O'Connor on you being named Veteran of the Year for your dedication to the United States of America.
Sir, I just also want you to know that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the House of Representatives has extended a similar citation to Jonathan Asher in recognition of being named Veteran of the Year and for your dedication to the United States of America. And this is signed by Speaker of the House Robert DeLeo and State Representative James Murphy. Thank you, sir.
Please take your seats. Our next award is the Law Enforcement Award. This award has been awarded only 2 other times under the Veterans Council stewardship. Not only am I honored to present it, but I personally witnessed this act of heroism by one of Hingham's finest. During the early morning hours of October 10th, Columbus Day of this year, I was participating in a St. Paul's annual Catch the Spirit 5K road race. The race begins and ends in the school parking lot as runners traverse the scenic Hingham roadways, Main to Garrison, to Burr, to Central, to Cedar, to Hersey, to South Street, and that's where the story gets really interesting. While I was running down Hersey approaching South, a patrolman was pulling a detail near the MBTA rail crossing, stopping automobile traffic and directing runners safely on. A car, not wanting to get caught up in the road race, tried to make an abrupt right-hand turn towards Tedeschi's. I'm sure we're all familiar with that crossing. Not seeing or hearing the activated gates at the crossing, the driver was unable to properly navigate the turn in time. And unfortunately, at that exact moment, the gates lowered onto the car's roof racks. The driver tried repeatedly to move backwards and forwards, but to no avail. The detail officer, with complete disregard for his own safety, jumped into action, physically positioning himself under the gate and pushing the mechanical arm upwards to free the now stuck vehicle as the MBTA train was now within sight. He began shouting to the driver, go forward," as he repeatedly struck the vehicle's rear quarter panel with his boot. The car quickly exited the danger zone as the train rolled by seconds, and I say seconds later. This act of heroism no doubt saved the lives of that driver and any occupants as well. Stunned by what I had just witnessed, and shortly after completing the course, I sought out the supervisor of the detail, Lieutenant Sean Kavanaugh. I immediately relayed my story, mentioning how I would be forwarding this eyewitness account to the Veterans Council for action. He congratulated the officer on a job well done, saying he would let the chain of command know what had transpired. The patrolman was hired in June of 2014 after graduating from the Massachusetts State Police Academy, Municipal Police Officer Academy in New Braintree. He is assigned to the 4 to midnight shift and has worked with the Citizens Police Academy at Linden Ponds, making that program a great success. Without further ado, it is my honor to welcome here today Hingham Police Officer Matthew Shinney. Dave. The Law Enforcement Certificate of Commendation presented to Patrolman Matthew Shinney of the Hingham Police Department. This commendation is awarded for outstanding public service benefiting our community, state, and nation. Presented by the Hingham Veterans Council, Department of Veteran Services, this 11th day of November 2016, signed by the Director of Veteran Services, Keith German, and the Hingham Veterans Council Chairman, David Sargent. Thanks again, sir.
Our next award is given to our principal speaker of the day, Coleman Nee. Allow me to read the citation. The town of Hingham and the Hingham Veterans Council would like to extend its heartfelt thanks and appreciation for your participation in our annual Veterans Day observance. Each Veterans Day should be a time when Americans stop and remember the brave men and women who have risked their lives for the United States of America. Dwight Eisenhower's quote has been read previously, but it's worth hearing again. It is well for us to pause, to acknowledge our debt to those who paid so large a share of freedom's price. As we stand here in grateful remembrance of the veterans' contributions, we renew our conviction of individual responsibility to live in ways that support the eternal truths upon which our nation is founded and from which flow all of its strength and all of its greatness. Coleman Nee, please come forward and accept this award from Paul Healy. Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
If I may just briefly, I want to thank everybody for coming, and it makes this event very special that we remember our servicemen and women, and this is what this day is all about. I do try to thank them all personally on this day, but every day we should be thanking them for their service. And I want to special regards to John. You well deserved, and Officer Shinny, thank you very much for your service. And in presenting this citation, I don't need to read it. I think the moderator already did, but I just want to say, I not only am happy to be here because he does a wonderful job with Veteran Services, but I'm also happy to be here presenting this because I call him my friend. Congratulations.
I think I'm the bag man now.
Thank you very much.
The new uniform in there.
It's not big enough.
It's a starter.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. You bet. Again, I invite Father Sinisha to come forward for the benediction.
O God, please stand. O God, to you we lift our hearts in gratitude for all here who fought and have lived since so valiantly and selflessly. Thank you for those who died bravely for truth, liberty, and justice. Thank you, too, for their families to whom they bequeath their heritage of honor and courage. Help us to guard carefully the gifts which their loyalty and devotion passed on to us. May we be true as these men were and are true. May we be loyal, selfless, and faithful to our country as they were and are to this day. Now may your blessing be upon these precious men and their families. May they go from here in your favor, even as they will always enjoy the favor of their country and their countrymen. May you bless their military descendants, those Americans who serve on the front line of freedom even now. And may you bless this grand nation for which these men have given so much. May you keep America worthy of their devotion and sacrifice, and ever in your light. We ask this in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Invite you all to remain standing while the marching units adjourn to the Veterans Monument. Invite you all, of course, to join us at that monument right outside the main entrance to the town hall for the outdoor portion of the ceremony.
Veterans detail. Attention! Color detail, parade! Colors!
Forward, up.
Unhook it. Lift it up. There you go. Raise it! Hold! Order! Arms! Bugler! Sound retreat! Ready? And fire. Order! Halt! Retake! Halt! Meathead! Order! Halt! All dismissed!
Wait, hey! Forward! Up!